Yo, what is up, guys? We are back with the 6th episode of Double Feature. I'm your boy Keezy.
Your boy KJ.
And you can follow us down below. Right under us, you guys can see our social media handles. That's on Instagram and Twitter, so go ahead and follow that. And also feel free to follow the actual Double Feature Twitter account right there, where we do update you guys on posts on when we're recording and when the videos are going to be up, all that stuff. But today we are talking about something that we just got to see 2 days ago at the time of this recording, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But before we get into like all the nitty gritty, we're going to go ahead and give you guys our quick non-spoiler thoughts on the movie and then rate it out of 10, and then we're gonna really get into it for those who have already seen it. If you haven't, come back to this whenever you do watch it, but stick around for this non-spoiler review, obviously. But before we get into this, please hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, comment down below your thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 if you've seen it or not, and then make sure you smash that thumbs up button, though. That's the most important thing. It's free, but it's free, by the way. But
it is free.
Yeah, we're gonna start off with our quick non-spoiler thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I'm gonna let you start. Just give us your quick thoughts and then rate it out of 10, and
Quite easily the best MCU movie since No Way Home. I mean, this movie is it clears the bar on so many levels. As far as it being a good like wrap on the Guardians trilogy, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better ending. And the movie itself is just, I mean, it's another amazing installation into the MCU. You don't get a lot of them, but the times you do, like now, cherish them, because it's probably not going to happen a lot more, especially at this magnitude, especially with the fact that we went to the marathon, of course, and we watched all 3 Guardians movies back to back. Watched the first 2 and then the third one. Just really puts into perspective the story of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it refreshes all the memories and everything like that, and it lets you not illustrate, but it lets you like identify quickly the callbacks and the importance that you saw, the importance of what is seen in the third movie that you saw in the first movie and the second movie and so on. But yeah, just an amazing movie. They did, James Gunn, I mean, he was in his bag for this. The best action sequence that James Gunn has directed in his entire career thus far lives inside of this movie. Need I say more? Obviously, James Gunn was clearly in his fucking bag. Yeah, just love this movie to death. They did such justice to all the characters, especially Rocket, of course. And it's just sad to see him go. Especially like you ended on such a high note. You're like, you got to make another one. You know what I mean? Like, you got to make another one. You can't just like.
I don't know. We'll get into all that. We'll get into all that later.
But yeah, man, it finally a good MCU movie that we could talk about. Obviously, there's some MCU movies you got that you like Wakanda Forever and Shang-Chi and stuff, but none of them on the scale of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just an emotional wreck, and it's still so fun. It's still crazy how James Gunn was able to balance all that emotion and still make the movie, really, really fun. But yeah, I love this movie. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, I would probably give it an 8.8 out of 10.
8.8, nice.
Yeah, an 8.8. It's a damn good movie. For me, I got it right behind Guardians 1. I mean, a couple of rewatches and stuff, it could change my mind easily.
Thanks for that. I do agree pretty much with everything you said. I think for the most part, the movie, it does a great job at kind of reminding you why you care about the characters and how much you care about these characters actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know. I love the music in here. Some of the action set pieces are great. I thought the movie was gorgeous. Like some of the actual production design choices, like the colors they chose for some of them, like it was top tier.
Yeah, like
Costumes, great.
yeah.
It's yeah, it's definitely emotional. Like that is the biggest understatement, and like nothing we can really say can prepare you for like the amount of emotions in this movie. And as for the conclusion, I think it really does end this almost decade long chapter with these characters in literally, I don't think it could have been more satisfying. Like
you just couldn't think of a better way.
It's just so good. It's emotional. It's kind of this bittersweet, melancholic feeling that you have. And yeah, even like the new characters like Cosmo and Kraglin, new characters that were added to the team. Like everyone gets their time to shine in this movie, and I loved that. It's just an all around, it's another space adventure, but with a bit more wrench in the gut, with just a bit more of a punch to your gut. And I think that's what ultimately makes it really feel like a conclusion. It makes it feel heavy. And yeah. I personally very much enjoyed that all the characters in here, like the cast has never been better, in my opinion, than in this movie. Like I think all of them were A1 in here. Everyone.
Yeah, I think everybody besides, Guardians, in my opinion, Groot or Vin Diesel in this case. Groot. I think everybody else, I think this was like their best outing in their respective.
I wouldn't disagree. Like I definitely wouldn't disagree. Yeah. I think yeah, guys, I don't want to say too much, especially for anyone watching like this first portion and you haven't seen it. Go watch it on the biggest screen and loud as possible, by the way. It is gorgeous in IMAX. It like the whole thing.
Absolutely gorgeous in IMAX.
Shot in IMAX.
I would not.
It is.
I cannot recommend it enough. I cannot talk about it enough that you go see this movie in fucking IMAX. Like, I am not kidding. It is the way it was shot in IMAX. That is the way it was supposed to be made. They are not shooting with IMAX cameras for you to watch it in a regular theater. That's not what they're doing it for. They're doing it so you can watch it in IMAX. Go watch it in IMAX. You will love the scope and scale, the way of that the movie looks. The sound, of course. I mean, once the fucking needles start dropping, the balls start dropping. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was great from start to finish. It's just emotion, like literally from the literal first second. It's like emotion, like literally. You'll know what I mean. From the first second, you'll understand that this is the end of an era.
I mean, it really
truly
quickly shows you what the tone and what the movie's gonna feel like. It really does. Sure. Like right away, it sets the tone.
If I had to give this a score out of 10, I'm giving it maybe a 9.19 flat. But yeah, guys, it is a damn good
fucking banger. Ride. You gotta rush to the theaters to really go see this shit in IMAX. Please go see this in IMAX, because these past couple of days I have only been thinking about the way that this movie looks fully shot in IMAX, and how much even the Guardians 2 and 1, how much those greatly improved for me just by watching them in IMAX. Like, go do yourself the favor and go watch this movie in IMAX.
Definitely. That's going to conclude the non-spoiler section. And now we are going to get into the nitty-gritty. We're about to give you the sauce. And so yeah, we are about to currently give our spoiler thoughts. So if you haven't seen it, click off the video. Come back after you have.
If you have seen it, stay.
Absolutely. Stay and watch this, please.
Family here. If you haven't seen it and you don't care about spoilers and you want to be spoiled, stay. I will spoil the shit out of this movie for you.
I mean, I think I want to start first off with kind of the plot of the movie, and that is that the Guardians are trying to retrieve this passcode for Rocket's cybernetic, he's made up of, wires and stuff, and there's a passcode that is for his failsafe that can, revive him, and the Guardians are trying to get this because High Evolutionary, which we'll talk about later, but the villain of this film is trying to get Rocket, and in the process, Rocket gets hurt, and so they need this passcode in order to help him revive a lot easier. Yeah, what'd you think about that? Because I thought the actual plot revolving around Rocket, I thought elevated every other Guardian member, because it made them have to really it made them the entire first half is them carrying.
It showed you in basic terms that like they care this much about Rocket because they would not be doing this if because the only reason they're doing this is for Rocket.
Absolutely.
And every single Guardian and every single member in this entire movie, as far as the Guardians of the Galaxy go, every single member is doing what needs to be done to save Rocket. Every single member. Like if they didn't feel like, and there was even a point where Gamora was not. She was still on the ship chilling with Rocket. Like she was still just vibing. And then at one point she was like, "All right, I gotta go." Like, and it shows you that it's all for him, man.
For sure. Speaking of Gamora, I think that's who we should talk about next, because she was one of those very complicated situations where obviously
was complicated. Yeah,
we saw how she left off at the end of Endgame, and one of the biggest questions I had was, how is that going to affect the third movie? What's James Gunn going to do in the third movie? Because a lot of people wanted Star-Lord to kind of get back with her, and I thought that would have been a really, really bad idea. I think that would have been just in poor taste of Star-Lord's behalf. Yeah. I think no matter what he did, no matter how hard he would have forced, I feel like it would constantly be in his mind anyways that this is not the version that he fell in love with. And so I very, very much enjoyed where they took her character, specifically, and how she plays into Star-Lord. I think, as much as I would have loved to see her and Nebula make up, but that would have been a redo. As much as I would have loved to see her and Star-Lord live happily ever after, that would have been a redo. Yeah, I really like how they kind of ended her off, with...
I didn't want them being together, by the end of the movie. I didn't want that. I was glad that they didn't go that route, because it would have felt very forced.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a very, very aggressive Gamora, and she's really
aggressive as fuck.
Gives no fucks. Like, she does not care who's in her way. She doesn't care what they tell you to do.
She really does feel like
she does feel
Gamora.
Very, very different. I liked what they did with her. What were your thoughts on how they handled this 2014 I would say Gamora?
I honestly wouldn't even say 2014 Gamora, because this Gamora feels so different. It doesn't even feel like the Gamora that was, beating Peter Quill's ass for the Power Stone at the beginning of Guardians 1. It doesn't even feel like that Gamora. This Gamora is cussing and
she's with the Ravagers too. So that kind of
Ravagers. Her hair looking different, and she just walking different. She's so different. As far as her character, I have no complaints. I'm not gonna go over the moon about her character, because there's not. I mean, the meat that was on the bone was in 1 and 2, and it was kind of chewed off, and the bone was thrown in the trash. James Gunn kind of saw the bone and picked it up, tried to do some surgery on the chicken, give it some meat and stuff. I mean, got a little bit of meat there, but it's not, you're not going to eat it. You know what I mean? It's not a full course meal. So I think what was done was fine. I think there could have been other ways as far as going about her character, but I think it was fine. I think it's what we all expected too. There wasn't much breathing room for James Gunn to do something that much different with the character than what we've been seeing, in Love and Thunder and Endgame, and how her and Quill's relationship is. There wasn't a lot of breathing room for James Gunn to step out of the box and do some stuff. But yeah, I mean, I still liked her. She was badass as hell in this. And that's I mean, if you're not gonna give me any type of because don't get me wrong, there's still an attachment to Gamora, but if you're not gonna give me any kind of I don't know what I would use to describe it, but just the feeling of seeing that old Gamora, then at least she's badass as fuck, and she is hella badass in this movie. So I have no complaints about what they did with Gamora. But as far as her relationship with Peter goes, I do think they kind of overplayed it a little bit in this movie. It did feel like they had the same conversations as far as Peter trying to get Gamora to, you know, be back with him, I guess, or, you know, just think about it at least. It felt like they had those conversations a little bit too much in the movie for me, to the point where like I was just like, okay, now I'm starting to get a little annoyed from Peter, because it's like,
I gotta
as a girl and
disagree.
stuff, like you wouldn't want a guy just, especially if
Absolutely.
you're really different, you just wouldn't want a guy constantly doing that. And I feel like Star-Lord himself, I feel like he should have been more happy about the fact that she's just there, you know, because there was a point where Star-Lord lost her, and he was, I mean, he was broken to pieces by it. So it's like, to even have her there, whether this be the Gamora you remember or a Gamora, I think he should have. I think he was happy that she was there, but I think it could have went about showing that better.
I agree a little bit. I think for me, that conversation of Peter wanting her back, I think I gotta disagree with that kind of being repetitive, because I think it kind of transitioned into Peter learning that from like the first time he talks about it with her on the, like, you know, little fleshy place.
Yeah.
And you know, he learns that, you know, she doesn't want to be with him, and I feel like the conversation then goes from Peter wanting to be with her to Peter asking her to be a part of the family. Like, it wasn't really lovey-dovey stuff after that. It was more like you were such a big part of this team. Like, at least be a part of the team.
Conversation.
I can see that.
Like, do this. You were this. Do this.
Yeah.
You were this. Like, it just yeah. But sure. I understand what you mean.
Moving on to another character, which you just expressed wasn't the greatest for you, and that is Groot. So you just said you really didn't like love Groot.
Well, I didn't love him as much as first and second one, to be honest. But I still liked him. I mean, that's not saying I hated him or anything. I still liked Groot. I like what was done with this character. It's almost like they sidelined a bit more of the the wholeheartedness that was in Groot in the first and second one. They
a little bit.
That part.
I don't know.
I
think
gave you more of the like badass action Groot, which I fuck with. That's why I like the Groot in this too. Like, there's never been a bad Groot. Like, so.
I think from the start, I'm gonna bring this up, and we could talk about this too. The entire beginning, like, I almost teared up from the beginning when they're carrying Star-Lord and Groot runs over to kind of carry his head a little bit, and that just like kind of made me tear up. That, and when Groot went to like sit by Rocket's side the entire time, like when he just went to go sit by Rocket's side, and also when Rocket woke up finally, and it was him. I think it was him, Peter, and Groot that were all
they were right there.
Yeah, they were all just kind of caressing Rocket, and Gamora like looked at it, smiled, kind of realized. I thought Groot was great
in this movie. I just feel like once you stack it up and you're like, how did you feel in terms of ranking him as far as movies go? I feel like in the first two movies, I feel like I was more invested in Groot, I guess, than this one. I was still invested in Groot in this one, but it's just like, you got Baby Groot, which you're automatically invested in, and then you got Groot in Guardians 1, which you're invested in,
which is kind of the heart.
First time,
it's kind of like the whole emotional
in that movie.
I think.
So I still liked Groot in this movie. I feel like, not that he was. I don't feel like he was sidelined or anything. I just feel like, you know, everything about his character is there, so you don't have to do much more. So I mean, they just made him a complete badass. They still gave him some of those moments, you know, that would make you go, "Oh, Groot." But yeah, I mean, I liked them.
Speaking of, what did you think of Vin Diesel's voice making a cameo? we actually for the first time, I'm pretty sure, right? We hear him actually speak. I mean, he said we are Groot in the first movie, but that's really doesn't count. Like,
we almost sounds like I.
That this is the first time we've actually gotten to see him genuinely speak, and I've already put this theory out.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought he was gonna say "fucking family." That's how much it sounded like Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
I mean, the moment
guys.
he said the line, I was family. Just like,
yeah, they didn't even bother like
Groot. That's just
modifying his voice. It was literally Vin Diesel stepping in his boots, going, "I love you guys." And all I'm gonna say is, I've put this theory out. I've already put this theory out, and it's already getting like some traction. But for me, I think that's us finally understanding Groot. I don't think he actually said, "I love you guys." I think
that's the correct theory. I think there's been some story choices that can make you come to that conclusion. There are some story choices in previous Guardians movies that make you go, "Oh, that's something they would do in this movie." So it's completely valid, and it's probably what it is. You know?
Definitely. But I just want to get your quick thoughts, since we didn't really talk about this yet. But what were your thoughts on like the entire like intro sequence from Baby Rocket, right? About to get grabbed by High Evolutionary, and then it cuts to
the music getting so fucking loud that it almost bursts your fucking eardrums, and then they're like, "Fuck."
Yep. And then Creep by Radiohead starts playing. And we get this one take of Rocket walking through nowhere.
That one take felt so much like the holiday special.
It felt so somber. Like, just the entire, this movie is so emotional.
It felt like
it really is.
It felt like James Gunn was filming it like it was the last time you were fucking seeing that.
It felt like James Gunn was filming a real raccoon. Like, walk.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he goes, he's walking around, as you see, like, you know, them helping out nowhere. And then, like, he gets in a bar where Peter's drunk, right? And, like, how did you feel about this entire intro? From, like, the Marvel theme, by the way, the Marvel intro was, like, all Guardians themed, which I loved. It really felt like, you know, like, this is not greater MCU. This ain't the multiverse song.
Honestly, they should just do that shit for every
I loved it, but,
to be honest.
Yeah, what'd you think about like that opening? Just all of it, like, yeah.
As far as the opening goes, the whole scene with Baby Rocket. I mean, it again, like I said earlier, it's showing you what the fuck is gonna happen. You know, like it's hitting you right away with, hey, this is what the movie's gonna be. Like, this is what it's gonna be, not be about. It's not gonna be like this. No, this is what the movie is gonna be.
Yes.
It's Rocket getting taken, and then by the way, the scene is so eerie and dramatic, and that it almost feels wrong, because it's like the opening scene of the movie, and it's just so like it almost feels wrong, because it's like you're watching a Guardians movie. This is the first time a Guardians movie has started off like this.
No,
it's the very first time. Yes, it is.
The first movie literally starts with Peter's mother dying. Like,
I forget sometimes. See, I forget. Because it's so fast. It goes by so fast.
Yeah, it is a short scene. It's like 2
I
minutes.
Forget, and I always think that him retrieving the fucking Power Stone is the first. But yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean the scene itself. I mean, it's shot well. You see his hand come through the shot. It's shot so nice,
so
and then
scary,
it goes into, and then it's like, oh, you thought that scene was shot nice? We're gonna give you a fucking scene that's shot even better. And it's like they give you this one take scene of Groot walking around, showing all the Guardians and what they're up to. I mean, Rocket, and then it shows what all the Guardians are doing and stuff, and it's just so cool. It's so fucking cool. because it's like you're seeing the Guardians again, and the way it's being shown to you is just so cool that it's like, this is only something I've seen in Guardians movies. It's only something I've seen in Guardians. I've never seen a camera just one shot, like just the team members of like while they're doing regular stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's like such a Guardians thing to do, and it's the CGI is fucking flawless in this scene. It's like it's like you're watching. It's like James Gunn is fucking recording a fucking raccoon actually walking and talking and shit. Yeah, the CGI is beautiful. The cinematography in the scene is beautiful. The fucking song choice for the movie, what was it again?
It's Creep by Radiohead.
Yeah, Creep. Such a good fucking choice. And the fact that the movie opens up with Rocket, is he playing the song?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not tripping.
Like singing it.
Yeah. I'm not tripping. Yeah. So he's playing the song, he's humming, and it's like Rocket's never done this. You know, it's like in any of the other holiday special, Guardians 1 or 2, you've never seen Rocket play or sing a song. So the fact that he's doing it right.
Did you what? Were you not in the theater?
No. My bad. Play. You've never seen him like play a song.
Yeah, yes.
Or was he
in Guardians 2? He asks for Peter's music.
Yeah, I knew it was Guardians
to escape with Yondu. And he also is the one that turns on the music when he beats up like all those Ravagers in the forest. He's the one that turns on music that he's humming to.
You're right. And yeah,
I'll get into that later about like the whole music with Rocket thing, but yeah.
All right, but yeah, I don't know. Something about it just felt. I don't know. Something about it felt so different. Like you had never seen Rocket like just do that. You know what I mean? Like you had never seen him like. I don't know, like vibe out like that, like literally almost akin to like Star-Lord. Like he literally looks like Star-Lord doing it. But yeah, I mean the opening scenes, it just showed you exactly what was coming, and I mean it was all fire from beginning to end. It was all fire.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think like from the Marvel Studios intro, like it's all Guardians theme, I was already like getting misty-eyed. I'm already like I'm not ready to say goodbye to them. I'm just not. Right. And then you get this like scary like intro of the High Evolutionary taking this like all the raccoons playing in the pen, and then you have like all of them rush to the back of the cage, and like Rocket's just the one sitting there just looking, and it's just this loud, like almost it's almost taking you over the sound, and then it just cuts, and then we get we get Creep by Radiohead, which is an amazing song choice. Rocket singing and him being the one listening to it too makes it even more like special. And I just like the whole
I mean the movie, the 2 movies prior, he just got done whining about. Not whining, but he just got done, you know, being pissed off at the fact that he was being called vermin.
Definitely. So I think, it was just a good intro, and then he walks into the bar, and I got choked up when Peter was just drunk. I felt so bad for Peter.
Yeah,
I felt so bad. Like
you've never seen him like that.
Yeah, he was like on a low, and then
straight out of Thor's book.
Yeah, and then Nebula's carrying him, and then like Drax is like, did he do it again? Is it happening again? And they're all, it's just so sad, and it kind of sets the tone for like, this ain't really a regular, this is not the regular fun opening sequence the way the first movie and second movie had. It is not. No, this is like, this is different. While the movie does have some fun elements in it, it is just a somber opening that kind of sets the tone, and it's beautiful. It's shot well, like he said. The music choice, amazing, and it's just, I don't know, man. There's something about it. It like hooks you into like you're already invested from the jump, as if you weren't already. Like you already are,
right?
And I just thought that was great. But speaking of like fun, I want to touch on this just a little bit, just real quick. What did you think about kind of like the comedy in here? Like, did it land for you? Like, what did you think about it in this one? And maybe compare it to the other 2 as well.
For sure, I still think the first Guardians is still like perfect in terms of its comedic timing and all the way the comedy is written. This movie isn't far from it. I like the way the comedy of this movie is written better than the second one. There are some of those like it just feels like back during 1 and 2, James Gunn wasn't doing those kinds of like long running jokes as much. So it does have those that like you've seen in some of his recent work, like the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker and
Oh
stuff.
no,
But
Taserface lasts for a while. Like,
you're actually
I
right. Yeah,
don't know.
Taserface does actually last for a while. You're right. Yeah, you're so fucking right. But yeah, I mean, I still think the comedy in this movie was written pretty solid for the most part. I was laughing my ass off because it was less like chirping comedy and constant long running fucking liners and stuff, and it was more like actions, like charade comedy, like what they're doing with their body and stuff like that. So I really like the comedy in this movie. Had me laughing out loud a couple good times in the theaters. Fucking Drax ass, it's just so fucking funny, man. Like,
Yeah, Batista kills it once again. I
Batista's
thought the
comedic
comedy
timing
here
and delivery is
so good.
it's so goddamn good.
It's
But
crazy. You
yeah,
would not
I
think
didn't have
Batista
many
would
issues
be
with the
good.
comedy. Obviously, there's some lines you could have shortened up, or there's some comedic lines that just weren't funny that clearly were supposed to, and it just didn't hit right. But nothing to take you out of the movie, and nothing to purely criticize the movie off of. No, I think the comedy was pretty well done.
Definitely. I thought the comedy in here was, like, for the most part, it really landed. Like, the actual,
Yeah.
like, funny parts were, like, this. There was even some stuff where, like, it probably wasn't even meant to make us laugh so hard. But, like, even stuff like Drax hitting the dude off the motorcycle was just, like, hilarious to me. Like,
Just
that.
like,
It's like
why?
the tiny Mantis making the dude fall in love with Drax. Like, it's just.
Dude, that shit was
So,
so goddamn
It was
funny.
good. It
The
was
way
great.
the way Batista was able to like give off like that, like he gave off a different energy in that scene. It wasn't even like he was like embarrassed. It was like he was like
Confused. He was like confused.
yeah, he was like confused, but kind of like he was kind of like pleased with like the way like he was being like treated. Like it was so
Yeah,
different,
it
bro.
was-
I love that. That shit
It
was
was
funny.
great. I like the comedy in here, but we're gonna move on to a very, very, very controversial character right now, currently, and that is Mr. Adam Warlock. Okay, now I'm gonna ask for
Adam
your
Warlock.
thoughts first.
Should we
as
call him Adam
always.
Warlock? Is he Adam
So,
Warlock?
I mean, what? Just go ahead and give everything you got. What did you think of Adam Warlock in
Man.
this movie?
I mean, it wasn't a character assassination, right? Let's not do that. It wasn't a character assassination. The only way it could be a character assassination is if Adam Warlock in the comics was an actual character. You know what I mean? So that's the only way it could be a character assassination. But the decisions for what they did with Adam Warlock's character, I just did not agree with personally. I understand why he was the way he was. They gave reasoning for everything. I understand that the entire MCU is not the most comic accurate. Like, I understand that. So I'm not harping on this just for its comic accuracy, but still what was done in the movie just didn't work for me. It came off as like just very just childish and just, I mean, it was super slapstick to me as well. His action scenes were pretty solid for the most part. From the trailers, they didn't really show much. There isn't much in the movie as well. And that's another gripe I have, is that it felt like Adam Warlock was in the movie for something but 5 minutes.
You're definitely the minority
And there was a moment in the movie where I was just like, where the fuck is he? Like, where did he go? Like, okay. I was kind of just looking around for him, like at some point in the movie. And yeah, I just wasn't a fan of how they made him like this dumb like baby that just didn't know much and was, for some odd reason, a random ass fucking, what's the guy's name? The little pet thing. What was his name?
Blurp.
Yeah, Blurp. This random ass just fucking animal gets shoved into the fucking plot out of nowhere.
Into the
And
plot.
it's-
Blurp's not in the plot. He's from one of the Ravagers. Or no, he's from one of the someone else was like carrying it. Like
yeah, I know. I'm saying he didn't get shoved into the plot. I'm saying he got shoved into the movie. Like where he wasn't in the movie, he was now. You know what I mean? Like
a little bit.
And it was through Adam
sell
Warlock
toys.
being the
Sell
big
toys.
dumb baby, carrying around his fucking binky all goddamn, his little stuffed animal all day and shit. Like, and it just didn't work very well for me. I still like what James Gunn did with some of his action sequences. They look pretty fucking cool. But yeah, I just wasn't the biggest fan. I'm not gonna go out there and be like it was a character assassination. But I will say that this is probably one of the worst depictions of a comic book character in a hot minute. But what I do like is that with it being that bad, there wasn't much of him in there. So I mean, I can't complain about it too much because it's not like he was, oversaturated in the movie and it's just a fucking lame ass character that we got to see for 10-20 minutes in the movie. Like I'm not gonna fully just hate on it, but it's not good in my opinion. It's pretty bad.
I respect that.
Yeah, go ahead. You give your opinions on it. I gave you my opinion. If I had to give Adam Warlock a rating out of 10, it would be a 3.2. That's what it would be. So go ahead.
I didn't mind it. I actually kind of liked what they did because number one, like in comics, Adam Warlock has acted very, very foolish. And he kind of just, he throws tantrums when he doesn't get his way sometimes. It's obviously not, like a toddler. But I just think I've seen, people on the internet and stuff. I didn't like absolutely adore his character, but I think it's being blown completely out of proportion. Like, sure, was he kind of like, lost in the sauce because he was kind of just born? Yeah, but he's not literally like acting like a baby. You're not hearing baby noises. Like, that's not what he's doing. Like, sure, he'll like, talk about his mother and stuff like that. But like, that was really the extent of it. I think in context of the movie, it makes a lot of sense. And I kind of like the reason why I appreciated it a little bit more than most people is because of where he ends up. And that's why I don't really have that big of a problem.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I am not the biggest fan of 5-minute character arcs. I know you're the kind of person that's gonna be like, I like the arc he had, but me personally, I could give two fucks about a character arc if it's done in 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes.
Oh, I'm not talking about his character arc. I know you're
time
ready to
and
speak.
Investment to be.
I'm not talking about
for
that.
me.
Not talking about his character arc. Not talking about his character arc. I'm just talking about where his character ended up.
Yeah,
that's it.
But
I'm not saying his character arc was amazing. I'm just saying I appreciate that in order for me to actually have some type of investment in this character, they made him dynamic in a way. I'm not saying his arc was great or anything. I'm just saying where he started and where he ended are different.
I'm not saying
his dynamic interesting.
I'm not saying you're saying his arc was great. I'm saying you're saying his he has an arc. That's what I'm saying. Like, no, he does. But what I'm telling you is, it's not anything for me. Any arc done in 5-10 minutes is not worth talking about because there's barely anything there for investment and for the arc to be fulfilling. You know what I mean? But that's just that's just me. Obviously you feel different.
Yeah, I didn't mind him. I thought his introduction was fucking badass and amazing. And then I thought he was ruthless. Like, he came
that
in
was
breaking
my first
bones.
Chuckle. That was my first
He came in breaking bones and shit. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Calm down. Listen.
Smacking
chill
Nebula's
out.
fucking
Chill out.
To the other
fucking
side.
Hitting Rocket and shit. Get the fuck off my boy Adam, all right? And I thought just the back half specifically, like the second half of what they did with this character, I actually really liked. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I actually like once he got past the whole baby stage and the him being taken out from the pod
and
prematurely.
Scenes like him when he's like shirtless and stuff, and he just like faints, and it's like
zaps. Yeah, that's because he was. That's because he hasn't recovered yet. He hasn't recovered yet. He's not fully recovered yet. He just got stabbed.
So, like Disney Channel. The house just blew up. My hair is black and my face is black, and that's so like.
all right. I liked him. I mean, if you're gonna rate him, I'll rate him out of 10. I'll give him like a 6.5. I mean, I don't fucking know, bro. But we're gonna move on to the next character, and that is Nebula. You know I have real thoughts about
Karen Gillan.
Nebula. But
bring that ass here. Bring
yeah,
that ass here.
What'd you think about her character in this movie? And maybe talk about her. Yeah. What'd you think about her?
That's my little snow bunny stallion right there.
Crazy statement. Not gonna lie.
Nebula was fucking badass in this movie. Honestly, this is the best I've liked Nebula. I don't know if you agree. This is Nebula's best, bro. Like, in terms of action, in terms of dialogue, in terms of character, like, just Nebula was fire in this movie, dog. Like, her actions, for some reason, I didn't think, like, it's so odd how Nebula could go from somebody you don't even think about, like, in terms of action sequences, and then fucking, like, the best action sequence, like, some of the best moments in terms of action in this movie come from Nebula.
Come from her,
it's so fucking cool. It's so cool what James gonna deal with her arm. By the way, that's like one of the few fucking times nanotech looks fucking good, or not nanotech, but you know, like that kind of shit looks good in the MCU. It's like one of the few fucking moments. I was so pleased with it. There was nothing wonky about it. I thought from the trailers and stuff and some of the promos, you know, her arm changing like and shape shifting and stuff. I thought it would look a little goofy, but no, it looked so fire. Like,
and let me add real quick. I feel like if this was in any other movie, that arm would have been completely CGI the entire time. And let me just say, I love that James Gunn goes practical when he can, because when her arm is not doing some crazy shit, it's just like a little sleeve she could put over.
It almost looks weird because her arm is painted like chainmail and like
it's not painted. I think it's like a sleeve, like it's like a long glove.
That's probably why it looks weird, because it honestly it comes off like that. Like there's no like indentation right here. It's like
a little bit,
a little smooth and stuff. Yeah, that's what it was then. Okay, but yeah, Nebula was fucking fine in this movie. I absolutely loved her character in this movie. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I could really complain about. I mean, obviously you would want more from every character, but I mean, what was given to her, especially throughout the trilogy and what she's came to, I mean, gotta give it up for Nebbies, man. You know what I mean? Like,
for Nebbies, yeah.
If I had to give the character a rating out of 10, it would be an 8.7.
An 8.7. All right. Yeah, I'm one of like the Nebula advocators on social media. Like, I think she is one of the most underappreciated characters in the entire MCU. I just think she's came such a long way from being just this evil, gotta beat my sister all the time girl, to her spending 5 years in Endgame to save the world, and then her being freed from the shackles of Thanos, creating a sisterhood with Gamora, and now leading nowhere, patrolling, over nowhere, being a hero, having a purpose. Exactly. I think she's came truly such a long way, but I loved her in this movie. Like you said, badass action sequences with her, and she kind of just gave us the real sometimes. Like, she really like called people out sometimes. She was like, stop. Like, what are you doing? Like, all right, you're doing too much now. Like, and I very much appreciate that. And she had like her little moments. Specifically, I loved every moment she had. And it didn't change her
character like to make her some super likable. Like, she was still
she was still Nebs.
Nebula has don't get into it. Nebula has always been a dickhead. She has always just been mean for no fucking reason. Like, downright just rude. She still has those qualities. They're kind of dimmed down a little bit, but I don't think it's for the sake of the movie. I think it's just her changes, being with the Guardians, but it's not like a complete change of her character. She still delivers some lines where she's just like, you need to shut the fuck up right now. Like,
absolutely. I specifically love everything regarding her and Rocket. I think she's the one that really tells Gamora. And I loved this conversation when Gamora's kind of in this place where, like, she doesn't give a fuck about any of these people. She's like, why should I help you save this fucking raccoon? Like, what reason? And Gamora's like, you should be helping me. You're my sister. And then something like that. I forget exactly. Yeah. But then Nebula's like, he's just as much family as you are. And that shit hit. I was like, straight up, tell her, Nebula. Tell her right now. Straight up. And then when Rocket...
She like, lock in.
Yeah, when Rocket wakes up, the first person he asks is like, "Where's Nebula?" And then he's on the comm. He's on like the comm, and when they all hear him, Nebula's like, "Is that right?" And she like starts covering her mouth like she's about to cry. She's like, "Is that?" Oh, and it just hits. I think, yeah, they do some interesting stuff with her character here, and she ultimately has just such a satisfying conclusion. But we'll get into that later. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Nebula. I'm not gonna give her a damn rating out of 10 though. That's doing too much. You dumb
You're
as
not
hell for
real,
that.
bro. You're not real.
All right, moving on. We've got a character that has, I think, grown not only on me but on a lot of people, to be honest, and that is Mantis. What did you think about Mantis?
Mantis. Oh, Mantis. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not the biggest Mantis fan out there. Like, I could do with or without Mantis. I'm gonna be honest.
Criminal.
But
Crime.
what she has in the story is done well. It gets you, you know. It's emotionally invoking. It's not like she's just in there for shits and giggles. Like, yeah, I may not give a fuck about what Mantis does 10 years in the MCU or 10 years prior, but what's happening now in the moment, I mean, it's hitting me. Also, Mantis is always just a fun character to watch. Like, she's just fun. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
super
compared to the other
personality.
Guardians, yeah, I feel like compared to the other Guardians, she has the most personality out of all of them. She is just,
yeah, obviously she has no
she's
type
like
of social.
she's like the homie in class that's like just dicking around, and you like, bro, chill, and she, bro, just keep dicking around. Like, she's kind of like that, and I liked her in this movie. I liked her, especially coming off of the holiday special. I think her character was done some justice here. I like the scenes with her and Drax, of course. They had a blast in the holiday special as well. But yeah, there's some lines she delivers here. It's not like she's just, you know, a funny person all the time. Sometimes she locks in and she delivers some emotionally invoking lines. And yeah, I wouldn't say she was bad or anything. I'm just not personally the biggest Mantis fan, but I do like what was presented as far as her character in this movie.
Definitely.
I'm not gonna give her a rating out of 10 though, because again, I'm not the biggest Mantis fan.
Yeah, I love Mantis, especially like I liked her in the second movie. I specifically like that scene where she connects to Drax. And you know,
Yeah,
Drax tells her like,
so good.
"You remind me of my daughter" and stuff like that. But then the holiday special
like,
really, yeah, the holiday special really like confirmed.
Dude,
like,
so much
I
for
love both of them together. And in this movie, she gets a moment where like they call out, and we'll talk about him literally right after this, but they call out Drax for just being stupid, and Mantis is like, so what? He makes us laugh. He loves his life. And I feel like in that moment, it was not like Mantis talk. I felt like that was James Gunn addressing all the criticisms of people saying, "Oh, Drax is so dumb." And it literally felt like, you know, James Gunn himself was addressing that. Mantis, obviously using Mantis, which I think is the perfect character considering her and Drax are so close. And yeah, she has some great moments in here, even towards the end. Like, all the characters get their time to shine, but like, you know, she gets the obelisks, and yeah, it's just she does a lot of stuff in here. She gets some fighting scenes that are so fucking cool, by the way. Like, we saw
bro,
a glimpse of it.
Power Ranger now.
We saw a glimpse of it in the holiday special.
She kicking 10 feet in the air on some.
But yeah, she did some really cool stuff, and like some funny stuff. Like, obviously, maybe the dude fall in love with Drax, but even when they were escaping that whole place, she's like, turn into a kitty cat. She's like, start dancing, and like she did some fun stuff in here. I really enjoyed her character. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the man of the hour. We're gonna talk about Drax now, okay? The duo, Mantis and Drax. So you can't talk about Mantis without talking about Drax. So yeah, I loved him in this movie. But before I give my thoughts, what did you think about him?
I just love Drax in general. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, you fucking made Drax a big dummy. I fucking love this character. From the moment he was in Guardians fucking 1 to the last scene he was in this fucking movie, man. I just love this dude. I think a lot of it is credit to Dave Bautista. He's so fucking good in this role.
Yeah.
And it's not a role you would highlight. You know what I mean? It's not a role you would be like, wow, that man is so good in the role. But it is. I just couldn't imagine
Anyone else, yeah.
being in the role. He's so tailor fit for the role. I mean, from just the way his appearance is and how just that invokes comedy, like just his deadpan face, and like it's just it works so well. I loved his character in this movie. He was given some more. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was still the Drax you know and love, but he was given, some more emotional moments that hit really, really, really hard. Some of the hardest in the entire movie. And I mean, just again, just seeing his story, come to fruition from 1 and 2, and how how it just plays out. It's fucking beautiful, man. I mean, you just couldn't ask for a better send off to these characters. Drax is one of those characters that you expect, you don't expect much, but then you get it. You know what I mean? Like you're not going into the movie expecting much from Drax, but then every time, like, it becomes a highlight. It becomes, let's talk about Drax after the movie's over. You know what I mean? So yeah, I loved what they did with him in this movie. He felt like he was just playing like in the right role, just in his little zone, just playing on the right beats and stuff. Like it just felt like he was in the perfect area in this movie. And yeah, I couldn't have asked for anything better. I think I like Drax. I think I like Drax the most in this movie.
In this, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. I think, like I said, pretty much everyone is like the best in this movie, and Drax is no exception. Like he is so good. He has his moments. Like he gets, obviously we'll talk about the ending later, but obviously the arc of him being a father, and like I just thought he did some really I thought Jim's gonna manage to use him even more interesting. Like man.
Let's not forget, he is Star-Lord's #1 best friend.
That was hilarious. That was a long-running joke that genuinely hit every single time. Every single time. Yeah, he has some really, really funny moments in here, and like he made me tear up multiple times in this movie. Like, man, just everyone gets their time to shine. But and we're gonna move on to, quite possibly the main member, if we're not counting what this movie is about. But Star-Lord,
it's time to talk about Cosmo. Oh shit, Star-Lord. Oh,
right. No, not Cosmo. Star-Lord. What'd you think about Star-Lord though? What'd you think about
him? Could have went without him. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? You know what I mean? Like, the moment this character was casted and put on screen, it was already perfect. You know what I mean? So like, what else is there to say? Like he was just perfect again. Like it's like, there's no complaints. Star-Lord is he's one of the best written characters in the entire MCU, and this movie just does a great job showing you that. It shows off how well written Star-Lord is. Like it's like a show off how well written him and Rocket are. Like, dude, the stuff. I mean, Star-Lord has don't get me wrong, he has his funny moments. I mean, he's still Star-Lord at the end of the day, right?
For sure.
I mean, yeah. Still Star-Lord at the end of the day. You're still gonna have your Star-Lord isms. You're full of himself. You're comedic lines and stuff, but a lot of the emotional stuff has always been through Star-Lord as far as these movies go. It's like,
definitely
you've had some movies that were like, some emotion here, some emotion there, and not as emotional as 3, but yet and still every Guardians movie, it has always centered around Star-Lord, and he has always been some of that emotional carry for the movie, and it's no different. If anything, it's the strongest in this movie. I mean, there are so many emotions that you feel from his character, and things that go on in this movie, and some of the callbacks and stuff, of course. But yeah, I mean, there isn't more you could ask for from this character from the moment. I mean, from the moment he was introduced, he was perfect, and I mean, he was perfect in this one as well. You know.
Definitely got to agree with you there. I think, yeah, in this movie specifically, I thought they leaned a lot more or less onto Star Lord, because he's always dealing with kind of the family issues,
Yeah.
and they made him kind of deal with Gamora, and I thought that brought out a lot from him specifically, like, um, just every time he has a conversation, whether it's with Gamora or anyone, it truly feels like like he's not always in the previous two movies. He's constantly kind of I wouldn't say regretting, but constantly bringing up the past. And I feel like in this movie,
Like he's
he
dwelling
was
on the past always.
yeah, in this movie, he's in the present, and he is really there talking about certain issues that are in the present, and
Yeah.
making sure someone's okay, or
It really feels like just nothing else matters besides the task at hand.
absolutely,
We
yeah,
all
he
know it's getting
definitely
Rocket to be a fucking K. Like it
emphasizes
seriously
that.
feels like nothing else matters. It seriously feels like anything from 1 and 2, anything regarding his past that they've told us, it all like went out the window. And it was like him just doing everything at the moment. And then once you got to, Rocket's okay, then you started getting a little bit of that stuff coming back. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed him. I think, honestly, I think he's the best in this movie. I think so. I love him in the first movie. Like,
Yeah, I still
genuinely
think he's
love
the
him
best in the
in the
first. He's
first.
so good in that
But in
first
this one,
movie,
there was
man.
just something different. There was something more like grounded and like mature to him. Like,
Yeah,
obviously he's gonna have his
definitely.
immature moments, but you get to see him kind of pull off a heist again, in this. And
Yeah.
but yeah, guys, we loved Star Lord. But before we talk about a couple more things, just give your like super quick thoughts on like action on Kraglin and Cosmo, those two that were on Nowhere.
Kraglin and Cosmo. Bad dog. Bad dog.
Bad dog.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not gonna sit here and complain about them. They were in the movie for like 5 minutes. And they were there for some comedy that landed. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Cosmo is always a pleasure to see. It's always a pleasure to hear Maria Baklova's voice as Cosmo, because for some reason it's just so, but it fits so well.
It
I don't know
does.
why.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. Just a Russian lady's voice just fits so well. Like, so weird. But yeah, it's always a pleasure seeing Cosmo. Kraglin, I love what they did with Kraglin. I love what they did with his like with, what's the thing that Yondu wears? I forgot what it's called.
I'll just call it a fin,
The little,
to be honest.
okay, yeah, I love what they did with that, because they kind of like, they showed like him getting it in the second movie, right?
Yeah.
I'm not tripping. Yeah, like they kind of showed him getting it in the second movie, and it wasn't like he just like,
Mastered it.
yeah, it wasn't like he just mastered it right away. Like, you saw him in the second movie, it was like he was having trouble with it, and in the third movie, like, it kind of starts off and it's like he's having trouble with it still, but then it all comes to fruition towards the ending. So I mean, I like what they did with Kraglin. It was fine, and it does feel fitting. It feels like if
Definitely.
anybody was to be in that role and have the little fin that Yondu wore, I mean, it would either be fucking Peter, but no, it would probably be Kraglin. I mean, Kraglin was next to Yondu all the time. You even get like those flashbacks of Yondu, and I think they're done well, and I think it's all in good. It's all in good taste, because it just makes so much sense. Like, you have scenes in Guardians 2 and stuff, like when Yondu is just getting ousted by all his Ravagers and stuff, and like the only man by his side is only one. Like, there's only one guy, and it's fucking Kraglin. So like,
Yep.
it's very fitting. You know what I mean? And and to be honest, it's a good cap off to his story as well. It's very fulfilling by the end of it, especially when you see where he started off. He started off just kind of a Ravager. Just nobody important, to now like the Guardians of the Galaxy feel like they need him. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like, yeah, I really like the way his story was. Him and Cosmo. I have no complaints there. They were fine.
Yeah, I loved Cosmo. They both get a great time to shine in this movie. Cosmo's powerful. What number one? Cosmo's pretty fucking.
Yeah, Cosmo does some shit in here where I'm just like, this is like
we might need
X-Men.
you Secret
This
Wars.
is like
We might
X-Men
need you come Secret
character
Wars.
level like power right here. Like,
yeah, it's yeah, Cosmo does a lot. I loved Maria Bakalova as Cosmo in here. Super fun. They just put a smile on my face. And Kraglin, I think, is also one of those characters that are just like endearing just because of the quality of him just being loyal. And I think the Christmas special added a little bit more when we found out that like Kraglin was really with Yondu like day one. Like since he was young. And I feel like that adds so much more to his character. It's crazy. I think that Yondu cameo, which was so unexpected, by the way. I did not know
was mega unexpected.
Michael Rooker was in this
how
movie.
Unexpected it was.
Yeah,
it just came up and I was like, oh shit, that's Yondu. Oh, fuck.
I loved it though. It was like a callback, kind of the same thing he's told Peter in Volume 2. And how to control his energy, use your heart. And he said that to Kraglin. I loved that. Yeah. There's multiple parallels in Volume 3, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is getting overlooked. Like, there's actual, like many different parallels that kind of relate to the first movie.
We could pick this movie apart for ages, you know?
Yeah, I loved them both. But moving on, tell me about the High Evolutionary. What do you think about him as a villain? What do you think?
So, as a villain, I'm not amazed at him as a villain. Don't get me wrong, this is a villain. I would say the number one rule, the number one thing you want to do if you want to get the audience to hate the villain is have them hurt animals. That's the number one fucking thing. You see this motherfucker hurt an animal, we're all on the same fucking page. Okay, we all want him dead. Kind of pissed that he didn't get a satisfying death. You know what I mean? I feel like it was fitting. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say he was this amazing villain, but he was a solid villain. I'd say he was easily the best villain in all three of these Guardians movies. I mean, he was very, you hated him right away. I think the performance there by 𝙎𝙬𝙀 is more interesting than any other villain performances, than
definitely.
Why am I Kurt Russell? Why am I forgetting?
Ego?
Yeah, then Kurt Russell as Ego, or I don't know who played Ronan.
Lee Pace. It was Lee Pace.
Yeah, but 𝙎𝙬𝙀's performance is just more interesting than any of those two villains. So there was some stuff there to like as far as his villains go, but this wasn't a villain movie. No, this was about somebody. This was about everybody else besides the villain, which I like. I think the villain I like the High Evolutionary is like a fortress or whatever. That shit looks so cool.
It's
like
huge.
The way it looks. And
it's so big.
It's like as big of a fucking as a planet, damn near. Like that shit was humongous. But yeah, I mean I liked what they did with the villain here. Again, he's the best of the trilogy, so like I can't complain. But I'm not gonna say it was anything crazy or whatnot. It was a formidable villain.
Definitely. I thoroughly enjoyed 𝙎𝙬𝙀's performance in here. I think he was fantastic, and he just, like you said, super easy to hate off rip simply because he's hurting animals. And I just loved the dynamic of him. And we talked about this earlier, but just kind of him being in the position of creating Frankenstein. But instead of Frankenstein being this dumb monster, he created something above him. He created something smarter than him. And that really irritates his God complex. And I really liked that. I thoroughly enjoyed him. Easily the best villain.
And I just love the concept of like a villain like the High Evolutionary. Like, think of that name, the High Evolutionary. Think of his purpose. Like, he wants everything to be perfect. I love the concept of him having to face the Guardians of the Galaxy, a ragtag group that came from like
For
nothing,
sure.
and just like it's like
Yep.
so like
The contrast is definitely there. But yeah, I mean, I genuinely loved him. Like he's up there. I wouldn't say like top 5 MCU villains, but like he's close. Like he scratches that area where like he was just every time he was on screen, especially like the flashbacks, which we'll get to later. Like I was genuinely scared.
For some reason, I was so much more invested in his character in the flashback sequences.
Yeah, I think you know, even when like Adam Warlock, after he got stabbed and like Aisha went to him like just straight up like, I created you. Like you better watch how you talk to me.
I think what
like
it is,
I created you. And what are you creating Adam behind my back for? You don't touch anything I touch. And then when he said there is no God, that's why I stepped in. That's probably like genuine one of the hardest lines in any Marvel movie ever.
I think what it was about his character that rubbed me the wrong way was that his flashback sequences, he was doing something. You know what I mean? Like, whereas in the present day, when it would show you his present day sequence, he was almost doing nothing.
It's because now he has like the minions that he created and stuff, so he sends them to do most of the work.
Like he would just sit back, walk around, watch one of his minions do one of the experiments or something. Like he would just, you know what I mean? Like it would be like it wasn't as engaging as him literally doing stuff with animals, Rocket, etc. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what rubbed me the wrong way. Probably, I don't know.
I loved it. I loved him. But before we get into like the nitty gritty, real quick, we're just gonna mention like, what'd you think about like all the set pieces, all the action set pieces that were in this movie?
I mean, there's really one action set piece in particular that's just
it's right here. It's on the screen right now, but like
I mean that whole fucking hallway sequence, that shit was dope as hell. The set piece when they're on the little goop planet, when they came out in the fucking Space Odyssey unis and shit, that one was cool. Again, the set design of High Evolutionary's fortress or whatnot, that shit was dope as hell. Counter Earth was, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
it's literally like a synthetic replica of Earth. Like imagine someone trying to replicate Earth perfectly.
It wasn't crazy. I think Guardians 1 is still, as far as set pieces and stuff goes, I don't think it gets much better than Guardians 1.
What?
As far as this trilogy go, I don't know. That's just
wow. Me. That might be a hot take.
I think what it is that if a lot of the stuff in Guardians 1 I can identify as a set piece because it feels much more practical than, you know, some of these later movies.
Sure, definitely.
So I can identify and be like, that's a cool set piece because I can literally see that it's a practical set piece. But yeah, I mean, the set pieces in this movie were dope.
Definitely. I thoroughly enjoyed all that, even from the jump. Like that opening Adam Warlock sequence was sick.
Oh yeah, even that, like I think I even leaned over and said to you, I was like, it's giving like some, like this town or whatever. Where
nowhere.
Do you know what planet
they own?
Yeah, it was nowhere. It was nowhere. Yeah, it was nowhere. Like it kind of gives you like this like Star Wars vibe, like this like
I like
Mandalorian kind of like little bit of like cyberpunk-esque. Like it's kind of.
I like the set piece in the
that set piece.
What is it? Orgo Corp. I like the set piece in there when they're fighting inside.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It's by the way, the production design in that place is so cool. Like it's like white and orange, and it's these two colors that just like I loved it. I loved it all. But
contrast like a fucking Gatorade.
Yeah, I love that set piece. Even like all the stuff that happened on Counter Earth was really cool. Like there was no like insane choreography, but there were some big like, you know, explosions and stuff like that. And then like I love the Bowie. Whenever we see the Bowie fly, it's so cool. Like the way it moves, it's like constantly spinning and then like opening and closing. And yeah, right before that action set piece, the one take action set piece, we get one where they like split up into 3 ships and they're like fighting off this herd, and man, you get that orchestral version of the Guardians theme while Rocket just shreds these henchman off of the side of high evolutionary ship, spins, and then shreds the other ones on the other side. It was sick. I think this by far has the best action set pieces out of any Guardians movie. But talk about the music. What do you think about the music in this movie compared to the other two?
I think the music was the weakest out of the trilogy. That doesn't mean the music was bad or anything, though. I still very thoroughly enjoyed the music in this movie. I just think it wasn't as prominent and it wasn't as engaging as the music in the other two movies. Obviously there are some that are engaging just because it's like, God damn, this is a fucking banger. Like, I'm engaged just because this is just a banger. Like, but as far as like where the songs go, I feel like there were some times when the music didn't fit in certain places, or it was just the wrong tune or something. But I also feel like it's just very different in terms of the music choice, because like he has the, he doesn't have the what was it? It wasn't
The
a walk. Was it a
Walkman.
Walkman? Yeah, he didn't have the Walkman. He has the what is
The
it called?
Zune.
Yeah, he has the Zune now. So obviously, yeah, you're gonna get some different music choices now that he has like a broader spectrum of music to choose from. That might have been it, but yeah, I still like the music in this movie, just not as much as the other two. Even like the score and stuff, I feel like I love the score in the other two movies a little bit more as well. But yeah, the music was fine in here. I mean, obviously, yeah, you have your bangers that are gonna get you going, and when they're on, it gets you going. So nothing to complain
Definitely
about as far as the
respect
music
it.
goes. I fucked with it.
I respect. I think this might be my favorite soundtrack. I might be in
Really?
the my second favorite. I mean, I might
Oh,
be in the unpopular in the minority in here when I say I think I think the second has the best soundtrack personally. It's not like too many songs and it fits perfectly in the story, and I think the third one is right behind it, right above the first one. I think just the songs that were chosen, obviously, you got some weird choices because obviously in the previous two movies we're so limited to only one time. We're limited
Yeah.
to like one decade of music,
Yeah.
while in here, we're jumping from the 60s to the 2000s and from the
Mhm.
2000s to the 80s, and I will say the music choices in here were amazing. Like, I genuinely loved when
I
they
feel like
showed up.
there was more prominent needle drops. You know what I
I
mean?
liked it. I
Like, I
didn't
feel like in
mind
the
it.
other movies, the music kind of just fades in, or like it's kind of just plays. But like in this
Definitely.
movie, there were some like boom, like fucking needle drops. Like, damn,
And
let's go. Like,
I will say, like in the first two movies, since they're mostly being played off of Peter's Walkman, it's mostly still seen through Peter. While in this movie, since he has the Zune, you can do a lot more with that. Like like whenever they turn on the ship, it's like a radio almost. Like the radio comes on, like the music just comes on. There's a moment where
yeah.
like Gamora turns on the ship and that song just starts playing, like, and she's like, "What the?" And it's like loud, and I love that. Like the music just constantly playing, and then like you get shots of like that top down shot of Peter standing at the top of the ship with like "Do You
Oh,
Realize" playing, or like when they come out of the space suits in I forget, it's the Space Hog song, and then we're gonna get to it right after this next point, but just the last song, "Dog Days Are Over," just fucking amazing. You got "No Sleep Till Brook." I mean, bangers, like bangers, and I love the way they were used. Personally, I do think like the score was a little lackluster compared to the first two. It did have its moments, so specifically, High Evolutionary's theme is like great. I think it's like super orchestral and like
I didn't
Shakespearean.
Really
I did. Maybe that's because like they played it at like the Comic-Con panel when he walked out too. So like I really noticed it when it came in, and it's like just this like big sound of just like, I don't know. I loved that, and like the actual Guardians theme plays in here I think once, and when it does, that shit sent chills down my entire body. It was for a moment, but it sent chills down my entire body. But yeah, I think for the most part, John Murphy definitely does, a great job here. I just don't think it was as good as like Tyler Bates' iconic scores in the first two movies, especially in that first movie. The first movie has so many different renditions of the Guardians theme from the jump. Literally from Peter talking to his mom. It's like just a piano version of the theme. And by the end, y'all know. By the end, when he grabs that stone, man, Tyler Bates
you literally get like
cooking.
3 different versions of like the theme. Like,
yeah, literally. But we're gonna talk about the main attraction, okay, the man of the hour, and that is my boy Rocket Raccoon. What did you think of finally getting to see his origin, finally getting to see everything that's happened to him, the tragic past that's caused him to become the person he is? And what did you think of Rocket in this movie?
I think Rocket in this movie cemented him as one of the greatest characters to grace the MCU screen. I mean, like, just to grace the MCU. He's always been one of those characters that everybody liked, but he's never been a standout. Like, you could always point to him and be like, oh, you can tell he has some troubles because of this scene, or you can tell like there's something wrong, but like you just never got it. So I'm glad, even though there's some other characters that we've never got to see stuff like that from, like Mantis and Groot and whatnot. But like the fact that we got that with Rocket and how the story was told, it was just done so fucking well, man. I mean, the flashbacks were everything about Rocket's story was just so heartbreaking and so emotionally invoking. Like I was so invested in the entire story, and it just makes you more invested in Rocket like afterwards. So like if you like if you go watch Guardians 1 or anything with Rocket in it after this movie, like you would think about it differently. I think Bradley Cooper did an amazing job in this movie. And honestly, Sean Gunn, right? He voiced young Rocket.
I think so, yeah.
I think they both did amazing in this movie. I mean, the fact that you have these two people who are just, they're not voice actors, like they're not known for being voice actors, but they give you a voice acting performance well enough for you to just bawl your eyes out and for you to see and hear the the what word would I use? I mean, the loss, the tragedy, the loss of what has been in Rocket's life and what is ultimately made him the character he was when you saw Guardians 1. It was just all done so well, and I mean, for it to all to come to fruition the way it did, I couldn't think of a better way for it to be done. I seriously think Rocket is one of the best written in just characters in general in the MCU. It's going to be a character that, I mean, if it wasn't already, but it was, I mean, he's going to be an iconic character after this movie, man. They hit it right at the park with his character in this movie. I mean, just to make that the entire story, again, you couldn't ask for any better, and it even elevated every other character as well, with what they were doing in this movie and what they had to do to get Rocket back to safety and whatnot, and make sure that he's okay. Yeah, he elevated everybody else as well. So I don't think it could have been done better. I fucking loved Rocket in this movie. I love the story that was told. I hope we see more of him in the future.
Definitely. I mean, I've been waiting for this day. Rocket's always been my favorite member of the Guardians. Just I don't even, I'm not even going to talk about like why the character resonates with me, but more so just how complex he is, just how much he's hiding under there. And we finally get to uncover that. But I think what really stood out was just like, I mean, I've always loved Rocket, but the flashbacks and seeing his origin play out definitely changes things in retrospect. Like, if you were to watch Guardians 3 and then you were to rewatch 1 and 2,
man,
you would really understand where he's coming from, right? You would understand why he tells Drax, everybody's got dead people. Or even if you watch Endgame, when he's like trying to get the ether with Thor, and he's like, listen, people die. I lost all the family I've ever had. And it's like, it really puts things into retrospect. And I just thought he was fantastic. I think, and I can't wait to rewatch it so I make sure. But every flashback, I think, made me cry. Every single flashback in this movie, even when they're like going to OrgoCorp, and they're like, all right, guys, Peter's like, let's go to OrgoCorp. And Since You've Been Gone starts playing, and you see the Bowie go through like the different jump points or whatever. And then it flashes to Rocket and like all his friends playing tag or whatever. Yeah. Just like it's things like that even just hurt me. But I mean, you know, there was multiple tears being shed throughout this movie. But I think the moment, just talking about it's getting me choked up.
The crowd around us, it sounded like a fucking sob fest in there.
The moment I was genuinely broken. And a reminder, leading up to this, multiple tears were flowing already throughout the course of the movie. But the moment I was truly broken was when High Evolutionary shoots Lylla and Rocket just belts out this yell, this just pain, just anguish. And then obviously
it's like he fully believed like that couldn't happen. Yeah. Like even though he was telling Lylla and stuff like that, like what they're doing here is not what they think. Like he just didn't think that was gonna happen, you know, and you can tell.
It's just I think what makes it so tragic, and I think James Gunn really leans into this, is kind of the innocence of of some of these animals. And I think, you know, Rocket, not only did he not deserve to be experimented on, but even after that, right? He's just so gifted intellectually that he's kind of being taken advantage of for that. And there's just these scenes where he doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't know like what High Evolutionary's plan is, but High Evolutionary is asking him, you know, how do you know this? And Rocket's just like, oh, it's just this. And it's just like the innocence of Rocket just gets you. And the moment where I don't know, I forget which part this was or which flashback, but it's when High Evolutionary tells him that like they're not going to counter Earth. That was like so heartbreaking. That was so bad. And then obviously after like he shoots Lylla, he like gnaws up fucking that was like one of the most satisfying moments of the fucking movie. Was after he shoots him, he just destroys High Evolutionary's face, right? And then obviously he picks up the gun, shoots the shoots like the three people coming in, then he turns, and then his other two friends are dead. His other two, and it was that particularly might be the most emotional flashback. That entire sequence was
just a lot to handle.
It really is. I mean, and then I love how like, you know, even he's so smart that through all these flashbacks we see he's constantly gathering parts to develop his own key card to escape. And you know, obviously Rocket's escaped a bunch of prisons, and he's known for that. And so it really does kind of make. I love
the way that comes back too.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, he uses the card again towards the end of the film to let the animals free, and I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. Just when they finally defeat all the people in the corridor, and they finally get to like all the kids, and they free the kids, and then you know, Rocket just sits there, and I heard someone complain like, man, Rocket was just sitting there looking like, bro, escape them. I'm like, nah, like he was having PTSD. Like he is sitting there looking at all these raccoons, and then when he finally escapes, he's like, opens
this is
up,
literally me. Like this is like me bunched up in a cage with a bunch of little raccoons. Like
absolutely. And then he lets them all out, and then he opens up the cage, and he finally sees he's a raccoon, right?
Yep.
Like, and then
which again, I told you this after the movie. I did not think we were gonna get anything regarding that. Like I always,
me neither. Like it was. I mean, it was a constant thing throughout the movie. Yeah, but I thought it was just. It was
a constant thing throughout the film. So
I didn't think it would come back around.
You would be like, oh, they're probably gonna say. But like watching the movie, you just don't think about it. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, yeah,
definitely. I think, yeah, that was a great moment when he's like, my name's not Rocket. It's Rocket Raccoon or something. It's just like, it's the most comic booky thing, and it's so
Yeah.
satisfying. And I don't know, man. It's crazy how, obviously I already love the character of Rocket, but just
They elevated him
seeing
just
this,
so much with this
like,
one
I really
movie.
understand now why James Gunn came back just to tell this story. Like,
Yeah.
it was heart wrenching. You understand his character, and why he pushes people away constantly, and why he was so scared to let people in his life. And it's just it just hits, man. It really does. And then where he ends off, which is what we're gonna talk about next, is just special. What did you think about? Now that we're wrapping up, like, what did you think about the ending, where every Guardian member ended? Where their story concluded, and talk about the credit scenes as well. Like, what did you think about the entire ending?
So as far as the ending goes, I have maybe one or two gripes. My one gripe is that Peter going back with his grandparents, I don't know why that felt so what is it? What am I thinking of?
I don't know.
I'm thinking of a specific movie that did something similar.
Oh, is it an MCU movie?
I'm not sure. I don't know. It felt no, that's what it is. It felt kind of like a Peacemaker going back to his dad's. Like, that's kind of what the not what it, obviously he didn't feel like that, but like how it kind of played out, like what it looked like and stuff like that. I kind of wish he had went with Mantis, knowing that was his sister and stuff, and knowing like the abandonment issues that Star-Lord was having and stuff like that. It would have been cool to see his story, end off on like that note, that like, even though it kind of gets the closure that like, he's not alone. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it would have been cooler to see him go off like with the person he now knows as his sister, and like goes on, and they go off their separate ways, on that. And I think that's probably the only gripe I have with, and that's just it's not even a real gripe, it's just like a small nitpick. Oh, that's what it was. I also thought it would have been cool to see Drax stay in the, whatever the new Guardians of the Galaxy was or whatnot. I thought it would have been cool to see him stay there and actually be with them and take care of what's her name? Can't think of her.
Ooh, Phyla?
Phyla?
Phyla Vale?
Phyla Vale, yeah. Phyla Vale. So like it would have been cool, Rocket's story being that, he lost his family, and then, the whole coming to fruition, the whole thing about him, not being a destroyer, him being a father. It would have been cool to see him end off in that new team, and that way he could be more of like that father figure for her. Cause he's even like, even tells like when he's saving all the kids, he's even like I had a daughter that looked just like you, like, so it just would have been cool to see that happen. That's not really a nitpick. That's just kind of something that would have been cool to see happen. But yeah, I love the way, again, it all just came to fruition. You couldn't really think of a better way for it to be done. I mean, the way it all comes full circle, it's just so fucking cool to see. The whole thing with Groot and Mantis going off to do what she wants to do, because she's always been like not a sidekick, but like she's always been like with somebody. She's always not had her hand hold, but she's always had somebody there to be with and latch on to and stuff like that. And she kind of feels like she wants to do her own thing. I love that, like that's so cool. Star-Lord going back with his grandparents, I think that's cool, and I think that's so something a Star-Lord would do, like just chill with his grandpa, eat some cereal, like, and then probably go back to the galaxy in a couple weeks or something. Like, that was cool to me as well. Nebula was in the new group, right?
The new group, no.
Or was it was Groot? It was just Groot, Rocket, Kraglin, Uh, Falabelle
Phyla
and
and Adam.
yeah, and Adam. Um, yeah, I love the way they ended off Nebula and Gamora's story. Gamora, like going back with the Ravagers, they didn't press too hard on like trying to make Gamora stay with the Guardians and stuff, and like,
Yeah, she genuinely felt
stay.
like loved by the
She
Ravagers when
felt
she
like her,
got there.
yes, and I love
Like,
that is something I really loved when she went back to the Ravagers. Like they embraced her, and it really felt it made it I guess it made it like feel more okay that she's a Ravager. You know what I mean? Because her
yeah,
just going like she's a Ravager and stuff like that's cool and all, but it's like seeing how the Ravagers are like so happy to have her back, and like they're actually like they're it's almost like she really is one of them, and you can tell like it seems like they lost one of their own. Like I really love that scene, and I love how her story gets finalized with her going back with the Ravagers. It's pretty cool. As far as Nebula goes, what happened with Nebula? See, this is the
so
thing.
she ended with her and Drax taking care of nowhere, taking care of
that's
all the
what
kids, all the kids that are there now and stuff.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, watching.
They had saved all the kids, and they had to go take all of them. They had to go take care of all of them. Yeah, I like that. I like that as well. It felt right. Drax taking care of all the kids. It just feels so right, And then it's like you have Drax, who's like, the father. You're not the destroyer, you're the dad. You have him taking care of all the kids, and then you have Nebula, like who's kind of been this like mean girl the whole time, but then in this movie she kind of steps up and even plays like a motherly role at some points. So like it's like it makes so much sense as far as the way their stories are left off, and then. You got Cosmo and Kraglin. They're in nowhere too, right? Just chilling.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, they're part of the new team.
No, I'm saying though, but like
I don't know if they're gonna stay in nowhere.
I don't know. But yeah, them being part of the new team, it fits, and it's actually kind of cool because it's like as if Yondu was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but instead it's Kraglin and Cosmo. So yeah, I don't think there could have been a better way for this thing to wrap up. And when it does wrap up, as you're watching it, you feel it. You feel that you feel like it's the conclusion, and you feel like it's it all comes to fruition very well and like perfectly. It feels like 10 years. It feels like 10 years led up to this, kind of like when we watched Endgame and we were bawling our eyes out when all the portals opened. That's exactly how it felt in this movie. It just felt like this is what we had been leading to, and it was, you can't complain about it. It was done perfectly well. The post-credit scenes, you had, what was the first one was?
Well, the first one was like a right after the ending with the new team. Yeah. And then the second one was kind of just like a little. No, the second one was just a little gag with Star-Lord.
Oh yeah.
But what do you think about them confirming his return?
I'm happy about that. Confirm Rockets, and I'll be happier.
Well, he's the leader. He's the leader of the new Guardians. So,
but I'm just saying confirm it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying confirm it. Like
I guess so.
Yeah, but yeah, fucking awesome. I love Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. Day one character, born to play the fucking role. Like I said, the moment he was casted and introduced, it was a fucking banger. So if I get Star-Lord returning soon, I'm returning soon.
Factual. I think that was kind of the whole thing was like, if they didn't put that at the end, like let's be honest here. And I told you this right after the movie. I said
it would have felt like he's just leaving. Like,
with as great of a conclusion as it was, kind of interested in this new team. Like it's a real ragtag again. Like we're back to real ragtags. And
different though, like
you got like power. Yeah, you got like Phyla with
Kraglin,
her energy.
Cool stuff,
arms, man. King Groot. That was pretty cool to see. Huge.
Alpha Groot, man.
King Groot.
Alpha,
I think.
Right?
I think it's King Groot. He looks like King Groot at least.
King Alpha. It don't matter. That Groot is huge. Big as fuck and dope as fuck. I will be there day one for the Groot movie.
Yeah, I think the only thing is with that new team, like I think casual audiences would be like, do I really want to see this movie?
Right.
That's why they kind of confirmed Star-Lord's return, in my opinion. It was like to be like, okay, no, it's okay. The Star is returning still. Returning still.
That makes sense, yeah.
But, as for
the Guardians of the Galaxy really does revolve around
Yeah,
even
he's
though
really
this is like the only movie that didn't. Just like the only movie that didn't.
But he's really the like.
He's still the
money
like,
maker. He's the money maker. Like if he's not in any of these movies, he probably makes less money. Like
like he has like probably the most lines.
But yeah, I loved the conclusion of every Guardian. Drax, Nebula kind of learning that he's not just dumb. Like he was meant to be a dad. Yep. And then them two going off, and then you've got Star-Lord obviously returned to Earth, which I thought should have always happened from the jump as his conclusion. I thought that should have always happened as his conclusion. I thought he was going to
return to Earth sooner, actually.
Yeah, I thought like after Endgame he would have stayed on Earth or something.
Yeah,
but
I thought he was going to return to Earth too.
I loved that. That like I said, I loved where Gamora ended. She truly feels like she's happy over there, and like they're happy she's over there. So I have no complaints about that either. And I like where Mantis went, even though like sure I would have liked for Star-Lord to go with his sister, but like no, she has always been on a leash with someone. She's always been by someone's side, whether that's Ego, whether that's the Guardians, or whether that's with Drax. She has always been with someone, and that was her point. She made that point very apparent with Drax when she's like, "Why don't I come with you?" No, Drax, like that's the point. Is I want to learn and figure out myself. Like that's the point. Is she doesn't want anyone, and I very much like that. And I think in terms of like the actual ending of the film was very bittersweet. It was like they started like playing, obviously Dog Days Are Over, which is a banger. They played Dog Days Are Over. Why do they have
to go? But like, let's go. Like,
and then they start dancing, and it was just that was like, oh man, like one last dance, okay, sure. But then, and I'm pretty sure this is true. You guys can tell me in the comments below, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time we ever see Drax dance, and I love it because he makes it apparent in the second movie that he is not a dancer. And I love that before he leaves. He makes it apparent
in this movie as well.
Yeah, and I really love that right before he leaves, he starts dancing, right?
Yeah.
And I really liked that. I thought every character's like conclusion or send-off, I guess you could say, was, you felt happy for them, but it also hurt. It also hurt to lose one of these characters. And rightfully, no one had to die. And I thought, listen, let me tell you, I think we all had our picks. I thought it was a lot more ballsy to not kill anyone.
I think I kind of had the feeling nobody was gonna die when they started, playing a lot of those. It was like they were almost playing the same beats. Like they were like, "Oh, he's almost dying. Oh, he's almost dying."
Kind of some fake outs.
Yeah, they started doing some fake outs, and then I started thinking, I was like, the only people that are gonna die in this movie is fucking Floor, Lila, and the Walrus. Teefs.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that ending, the whole conclusion. It just I don't know, it's bittersweet. Making Rocket the leader though is really fitting. I think that's so perfect, especially because like when Rocket's in the heaven sequence, which by the way is another great sequence. When she tells him, this was your story all along, you just didn't know it. I loved that line
because it's kind of true. Like
he's the leader now.
It really was.
And he really is a leader now.
It's not even that. It's like through all.
Guardians
films,
for sure.
Even like Endgame and stuff. Like it's like you get those shades. It's like it always was your story. You just like you really just didn't even know it, and it really does feel like that. It's the story is told like that, and that line is a banger line. I mean, it's
definitely.
So
I think it really sets him up to be the leader of the Guardians, and I'm very interested to see this new team, which is the post credit scene. So I'm gonna talk about that now. So, ending, loved it. Loved how they end with a dance. That's how the movie's basically started. Mm-hmm. That's how they should end, with a dance.
I like they did in the holiday special.
Yeah, I think it was like emotional, but like at the same time, I was just grinning ear to ear. I was
smiling like, with tears running down your face. Like,
I think as for that, it ends obviously last shot Rocket. Love that. Just like the second movie, but the last shot is Rocket, and then we get the mid-credit scene, which is kind of showing our new team. And then they play "Come and Get Your Love," and let me just tell you, that almost made me tear up instantly. But luckily, it got some levity in there where they're all like, "That's a great,
I'm not gonna lie, I
good
thought
choice."
they was gonna go
Good
the
choice.
movie without playing it. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, they were like, "What do you think?" And Adam gives his little like, "Maybe you should play this." I love that. Like he's already in there, like liking the music. I think, but what they set up, which is what I wanted to bring up, when we were talking about Rocket and music, I think they set this up in the movie where he's young and high evolutionaries with him, and he's like, "What is that? Sky?" And he's like, "Yeah, Sky." And he's like, "Rocket." And he's like, "Rocket." And then he's like, "What's the sound?" And high evolutionaries like, that's music from over 5,000 years ago. I thought they set that up. Rocket's always liked music. He's always liked music. He asks for music when he's escaping with Yondu. He plays music constantly by himself, and in this movie he does. So like, I really liked that. But as for the new team, I'm kind of excited to see them. Like, I want to see Phyla grow up specifically. I want to see her grow up.
I hope we see them.
And like fuck shit up seriously. I like this new team. It reminds me of like the animated series they used to have for Guardians, where like it was Phyla and Adam and like Groot and Rocket and Star-Lord. So I'd imagine Star-Lord will return with that team. I'm scared for whoever's got to pick that up. I'm scared for whoever's gotta sit there and try to clear the bar that James just said. Because
Sean Gunn, take a crack at him, bro. Like,
I am genuinely scared for anyone that's taking that food on that plate, because that's gonna be difficult. But I mean, I am excited, whether we see that team or not. I imagine we are, since Star-Lord will return. I'd hope, unless they're going to try to do something like where Star-Lord, returns to fight on Earth with people, because obviously, like, let's say Secret Wars goes down. Like, I'd understand if he, strapped up his boots and was, like, defending Earth or whatever. But I'd hope Star-Lord comes back on this Guardians team. Yeah. That would be, I would like that a lot. But as for the post-credit scene, them confirming his return. That was kind of surprising. I didn't expect them to do that, but you gotta get people to return. You gotta get people to return to these Guardians movies. Like, what are they gonna do? Return for Phyla, Vale, and Adam Warlock? Like, I mean, people love Rocket, but I don't think Rocket's
saw that too.
selling. Like, I don't think Rocket's selling movie tickets the way Chris Pratt is. So you gotta confirm Chris Pratt's returning. That way people don't jump off the Guardians ship yet. But guys, in terms of like the whole movie, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved the movie, like genuinely. And to experience like all three back to back, it's just crazy where it starts and you're like, man, this was like 10 years ago. And then you get to now, this just epic, just huge scale, huge stakes, just like a lot. And I couldn't have asked for a better send-off for these characters. I think it ended perfectly. I think it concluded such a, beloved saga and like group of characters that, James Gunn has managed to put on the big screen and make almost A-tier characters. Make characters that are almost up there with the Black Panthers and like the Thors, like up there. So, I couldn't have asked for really a better send-off. I have like the smallest of issues with this movie, but I honestly, I got to rewatch it maybe one more time. But as of right now, I think this might be my favorite out of the three. But those are just my final thoughts. Go ahead and give yours. Maybe even say where it ranks above or along the three movies, along the trilogy.
Okay. The movie was, again, it was an amazing movie. There's not much you can complain about. If there is stuff you complain about, it's probably some nitpicks. This was just a great closer for the Guardians. Solidifies it as the best trilogy in the MCU.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, me personally, I still think Guardians 1 is better than this one, but it's not a landslide. This again, like with the rewatch, this could easily trump it. But as of right now, I mean, especially after rewatching that movie in IMAX, the replication of Guardians 1 just can't be done. But I mean, amazing movie overall. Great work by James Gunn. You had a good run in the MCU. let's try to see them top it.
Definitely. Yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for our
rating.
I think we just said them at the beginning, but we can re-say them.
We said them at the beginning?
Yeah, for the non-spoiler. Remember, I gave it a 919 flat. I gave it a 919 flat.
We need the
percentage.
100%. Yeah, we need the percent.
All right, out of 100, I'd give this like a 92. No, maybe like a 93. Because I did give Wakanda Forever a 91. I like this a lot.
90. I'm gonna go 90.
90. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 90.
But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for the spoiler and non-spoiler. But I guess if you're watching this at this moment.
Here you go.
Yeah, that's going to do it for the spoiler review. Tell me what you guys thought. Tell us what you guys thought in the comments below about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this. And yeah, I might do a separate video. I most likely will do a separate video on Guardians 3. And yeah, look, we got the lanyards and everything. We got a bunch of stuff. But yeah, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell. Like I just said, comment below. We got a bunch of links in the description. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you stuck around, thank you so much. But it's been your boy Keezy.
Been your boy KJ.
And hopefully we will see you guys in the next one.